whole family. Their last name was Osteen. And my mother thought the world of them. It was about 4 or 5 boys. And they lived in a house that was that far from the ground. And when we had a hard wind, it would slip off the blocks and there'd be hogs under there. And it'd come up through the floor. But anyway, my mother thought the world of them. Come to find out, there was an Osteen up the road. He says, we're not related to them. And he was Osteen. He was married to Carter, of course. But anyway, he said, no, we're not. And I looked it up, and they were first cousins. It's so funny. But anyway, they had about 5 boys right across the road. Those boys, one of them got struck by lightning.
Oh, Lord.
And died. He was over here fishing near the old fort. And so he went into the old fort to get out of the weather. And that's when he was struck by lightning. And then another one, a tree fell on him. And you wonder what these people are thinking about.
Or what, what's going on
But this
with
is
that?
what they did. They have you ever heard of people cutting palms for Palm Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the jobs around here that people did. They would start cutting maybe a little bit before Christmas, and they'd have a big stack done by Palm Sunday. I couldn't do it because the tree is too tall. But my dad and his brother would cut palms, and what they did, it was like a sawhorse. And we'd have one out there, and my dad would get burlap, and we had to count out so many palms and lay across there. It's like it worked, they were about that long. They had burlap, and they would wrap this around the palms. And then you took a needle and some thread, and you sewed it together. And then a man would come out with a truck, and he would load it up, and they would pay. There's palms everywhere, and there was a lot of money in there. So my dad and his youngest brother and anybody else would cut palms. I couldn't because my arms are not long enough. But anyway, but we could sew the bag up. And then a truck would come out and load it and take it to St. Augustine. So I thought, well, that's pretty nice. And did you hear me tell about the fellow at Flagler Beach cutting palms? They were like saw palmettos. You know how much they grow over on the beach side. And he was over there, this fellow, he lived in Flagler. This is another one. He was cutting palms, and he said there was a huge rattlesnake. He said, that was my last day. They like these palmettos on the beach side. But anyway, he didn't do that anymore. But my dad continued to do that because they would have, whenever Palm Sunday came, then they would have that much time to cut palms. And the day that the house burned over there, it was my mother and and my brother and myself and my cousin and my half-sister. We were all standing where they were pulling us in the wagon. And we heard this calling. And Mama said, you all better hurry up and see what's going on over there. So they did. that's when the house was burning. But anyway, and my dad was down there cutting corns. But anyway, my grandmother was upstairs and she was throwing out mattresses. None of them got hurt, but they slept in our living room, a whole bunch. It was my uncle, my grandmother, my half sister, and this little old woman that was an aunt. It was, and thank goodness they saved the mattresses. It was wall to wall with mattresses. And of course my mother's anger got up a little bit, you know, with that many people around. But she didn't complain. But anyway, the grandmother was Annie Osteen marrying a DuPont. There was a lot of Osteens. And she was the one that would do the cooking. But anyway, and my mother got along real good with him. But anyway, it's a good thing they threw those mattresses out of the window. It was just my grandmother doing it. And then that night, we all go over there and we sit down, and my dad, they said my dad fainted. You know, he was just so tender-hearted. And we were sitting there looking at the blaze. I mean, it was pitiful. It had been there for, different ones say different things. But anyway, it was a big 2-story home.
That's the Eatman house?
DuPont.
Or the DuPont house?
My brother and I, some of my grandmother's brothers would come around, you know, and they'd find something to buy and give to us. And they gave my brother one of those little pop guns with a cork in it.
Mm-hmm.
We walked up the steps and stairs. So anyway, I remember going in the house. You know, the DuPonts did their front of their house on the south side. Don't know why. The Eatmans did it this way. Because my grandpa Eatman, his went straight east. And this house is straight east. And they got to laughing, some of their relatives, you know. I don't know why Ellis wanted to put this house straight east because everything else is crooked. But when the county draws up a map, straight east. But it's slanted. It goes this way.
What year did the house burn down? Or about what year did the house burn down?
It was probably around 1935. I was born in 31. My brother in 31. So 34 or 35. But we sat there and we watched, and it was so pitiful.
Yeah.
And then there was a barn there. And we did have a horse between here and there. And so the horse had a place. But it was so funny. These cousins would come up and spend the whole summer. School would be out. So we had somebody to play with. One of the cousins liked to put a wool dress or something on a pole and be inside and stick it out and scare us to death. That's what the cousin would do. And we could be scared. But anyway, they got that little house. My granddad DuPont saved every board. I mean, when let me see, that was in 35. 1917, I think, is when they tore the schools down, you know, those all around. And I'm sure my granddad DuPont collected all the boards. So when that happened, they built my grandmother a little one-story house over there, 3 bedrooms, and then when the blacks would come by, she could cook. She's the one that did the cooking. But anyway, we got along with each other so much. And speaking about this alligator, my neighbor back here, they moved in like 1980. And it was me and my brother inside, and she comes in, she said, "Do you all eat alligator?" My brother and I said, "No." No.
That's the Brammer.
Brammers, What they did, they dug out a pond there, made it deeper. And so, if you have a drop of water, you're going to have an alligator.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, when we were growing up, and there was no rear near, and we would, when we have a big rain, we would go right back here and swim in the road. That pond would overflow.
Yeah, I can remember swimming in the ditch as a kid.
Did that
Yeah.
down New Smyrna.
And we would go swimming in that pond. Don't do that anymore. But this modern day companies, they don't want you to do anything to the water. It just fills it up and keeps on and on and on.
And that's the pond that's down Brammer on the left side, right?
Yeah, that goes, Brammer's is straight back.
Right.
And I think they paid some to get some holes filled up. We paid some to fill it up, and then they were logging, and that's when they didn't, it was St. John's River Water Management, they didn't do anything. And of course there's a little alligator that was in that pond here. But let me tell you what I saw. Going out, and I had rounded the curve going out, there was a mother black duck. And she had about 12 little black ducklings. I had to sit there and wait on them to cross the road. They were coming to the side. And later on I saw where in Alaska they had black ducks. And they said, "They're pretty tasty." I said, I wouldn't kill a duck. But anyway, they were pure black. And they were crossing over this side. And Patterson had dug a homemade pond, a big one. So anyway, they were headed for that pond. But you know, I hope that they don't build in that pasture. See, my property goes to the post. And so I had to, they had come over on my side of the fence about that far. It was Patterson, and he had sold it to Mays. And my brother says, "See, you need to tell them," you know, they put that stuff on me. But anyway, so I took a picture of it. And sure enough, their fence had come over. And so I had written them a note, said, "Whenever you all replace the fence, you need to have it surveyed." And so I heard them out there, you know, putting some new posts down. I said, "Whoa." I said, "You are on my side." Boy, that young lady got so mad. And then she says, the worker went in and got her. And she comes out and she said, "Okay, you need to saw down all your limbs that are going over the fence." You don't have to do that. I knew that. I said, oh, okay. So I had talked to this lawyer, and he wrote him a letter. So they had it surveyed. But you know, that woman, let's see, I think she was in real estate or something. But anyway, her dad is the one that owned it. You look it up on the county, and there are so many, his name is Mayes, Mays. They have a lot of property back there. And then my cousin told me there's somebody that has a big junkyard over the fence. And of course my cousin passed away in October. But he said, I told him, he was being aggravated with this too. And my sister said, oh, I do hope Joy gets settled on this property. Well, those people get caught by the law all the time. And they finally got it settled. But he made one of them made a remark to Douglas. I said, Douglas, you call this lawyer and he will tell you to give him a call. And I told Douglas, I said, call the police. Just don't mess with them at all. Don't talk to them. They like to come in here and hunt. Now, Luke, I'm getting along real good with Luke, but he's half Indian. But we get along good together. But his dad is the one that thinks he can hunt anywhere. And when my grandson is out here, he said, there'll be a pickup going that way, another one going that way. The wildlife people would be after them. And I was here at midnight one night. I'm not afraid. But anyway, I was spending the night. And I could look out the bedroom window, what's going on over there. It's my sister's property. The wildlife people had called, I think it was the dad. And there were lights everywhere. And then they put him in jail. But anyway, I saw him, I wasn't out here too much last fall, I don't think. But anyway, he became very friendly with me. And when I first started coming, he walked in the gate and he said, your mother was letting me hunt deer in the garden. And no, you can't do that. Might as well have slapped him because he was so heartbroken. I said, that's okay. You're not hunting on my property. I'm not letting any hog hunters hunt on my property. You know, you don't really eat wild hogs. I had read in the Reader's Digest that they may carry a disease. And when I say something to my DuPont cousins and they like wild pork, they say, oh no, they don't do that. There's it was of the Kersey family, and one of the girls ended up dying, and I'm sure they ate a lot of pork. And then my dad, I don't think he did even touch a wild hog. My brother would, because he'd tell me, he says, watch out. And I look in his truck and black hog. And he would do that. But no, I don't think you need to eat wild hog food. I read where they would eat anything. But we had hogs. Now, Hewitt over there said the DuPont hogs were white. And you know, we used to go over there to the gate, drive to the gate, and go walking in the swamp. That was the prettiest walk ever. And somebody said, well, you better watch behind you because these wild hogs are running everywhere. But the old house, I think, was right there off of Davis Grade, and it went right through the swamp. But it was so pretty. There's mulberry trees over there. It's growing. And we were discussing that. We think maybe somebody had to plant those. Maybe they wanted silk. But anyway, but that was a beautiful place. But I would look behind me when I'm walking. Have you all walked Davis Grade through there?
I haven't.
Parts of it?
He might, yeah, Preston might have.
Well, you know, the easiest way to go and nobody would ever know.
She's trying to get us in trouble now.
She's my kind of woman. Hey, you just go through here.
You could probably walk right through the swamp. It might be a little wet, or you could go that way and go around, and there's a stream you got to walk through. And then you're up higher, and then you could walk along. And you know, I meant to bring some literature, and I bet I didn't. But anyway, Louis Wadsworth, he had property right here next to the fence. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes, ma'am. He had everything up in here.
He followed us in one time, and we were coming that way. There's no road over here. We were coming that way and parked, and the kids were small, and I got out of the car, and my husband was driving, and he comes in and bawls my mother out. Why did you let them in? And I looked at him in the eye. I didn't know him from a hole in the ground. I said, I am her daughter, and I'm going to go and come as I want to. You know, somehow I got over being afraid of him. Never saw him, you know, but what he did, he lived at bought the Prince's place. But he bought all this property that was, the Eatmans had for sale, cheap. And then he sold it to IT&T for quite a bit. Well, let me see. I guess he's still alive. But when he was in the hospital, and the nurse, he married the nurse. His wife had already died. But anyway, and she was kind of grouchy because my cousin, I guess it was, wanted some sermons, and I didn't have his telephone number, so I called the widow. This is something. And she says, have you seen Robert around, or do you know his telephone number? She wouldn't give it to me, of course. And I said, well, I have some summons I was going to give him. Oh, I'll take them. So I drove up there. I said, it's locked. And she told me, you know, how to unlock it. And so I went in and hung the summons where she could get them. I tell you, I never did like her, because I didn't know her. But that was the widow. But let me tell you, he had, Louis Wadsworth had given her, I think, 24 acres. It was on the Princess Road. Did you know how much money, the property went back, I think, to the Wadsworth, or maybe to the county, or what, but they could sell 24 acres. They wanted over 800,000. And Mary took me back there, and I got to look. They had flattened that place. They had torn the house down. The house was a cute little house, and then they had a guest house there. And I mean, that was uptown. And I said, Mary, look at that. They flattened that, and they wanted over 800,000. They had 24 acres. I mean, that was something. But anyway, I'm talking you to death.
Not at all, no.
Were you born in the house that was here?
Huh?
Were you born in the house that was here?
Yes. Well, I don't know who Mama had to take care of her. But anyway, yeah. And we didn't have a problem. And my grandmother, I know she had somebody to come. And they had to get rid of the rest of the kids so that she could have a baby.
Like a midwife type?
Yeah. Or some of these blacks were really good at it.
So the husband and wife that had the gas station, was that over at US 1? Is that where that was?
Where Kings Road crosses US 1? They're putting a subdivision in there now?
Okay. That, when you got to the highway, you would make a left turn. Left turn. Yeah, and head toward Bunnell. Well, these Osteens that lived right across the highway, his name was John. Her name was Antonio. Now, is that an Italian name?
I would think so. It sounds like it.
But they had well, of course, those boys got married. There was a big wind, as my mother said, and it blew the house off the blocks and onto the hogs. But my mother, she could talk to anybody.
That's Davis Station.
Davis Station?
Myself.
Yeah. Okay.
We keep track of all the, it's called the Master Site Files. It's all the historic sites that we know of here in Flagler County. And Davis is one of the places on it.
Davis? Oh, okay. Well,
There's another one called Abernathy.
this fellow is quite a hunter. His last name is Davis. And my brother said that he seemed to think that this fellow got stepped on a burner or something and it burned his foot or something. But anyway, the dad left them. And Luke is the son. And Luke kind of straightened himself up. And Luke is half Indian. So he's got a problem when he's hunting. But Luke turned out really good. I told him he was over there. They didn't have, well, there was a house over there. My uncle had this house, and he lived in St. Augustine, and then they finally fixed it so the family would only get half. Half of 5 acres. So you can't build a house on half. But anyway, and they got see, I was through there and I was looking. I'm not afraid of them. But it was given to my Uncle Lee, and Uncle Lee was a railroad man, you might say. So Luke took up that trade. And so anyway, Luke likes to hunt everywhere. And his dad is even worse. They might just come up and shoot a hog right in in your yard.